My name is Hannah McLeod and I work for the City Mental Health Alliance in Hong Kong. This clip is part of a series of gathering viewpoints from experts focused on supporting employees to stay mentally healthy amid COVID-19. This week we welcome Tony Dickel, who is the Country Director of the Potential Project and the CEO of Transcend International. Welcome, Tony.
Thanks, Hannah. And what we're going to be talking about today, of course, is kindness. And the subject of kindness is important at all times, but particularly at times like this, when we're forced to maintain physical distancing from others, thereby cutting us off from a prime source of potential well-being. And in the midst of it all, I'd like to start with a bold statement that in one simple and very real sense, we're all alike. And that is that we're all looking to be happy and that nobody wants to suffer. This despite the fact that many of us actually do behave in ways that lead to suffering, short or long term, for either ourselves or for others. So let's dive into this idea a little deeper. What I'd like you to do is to pause this video for a moment, get hold of a way to write down some notes, and then I'd like you to write down 3 things that you need from others in order to help you to be happy. Go ahead, and when you're done, I'd like you to restart the video. So now, setting that aside, I'd like you now to write down 3 things that you think others need from you in order that they might be happy.
So you can pause the video again while you write down those 3 things.
And my guess is that these 2 lists that you've now created are probably quite similar, and that they perhaps include a number of the words that are shown on this slide. Things like being understood, like respect, like caring, things like empathy. So many of these things can be summed up by the little word kindness. So kindness can be many things, as we've seen, but perhaps the simplest of all definitions of kindness might be just the intention to be of benefit to others, to help others to be happy and at their best. So perhaps another way of saying this is that it's simply that it is the genuine aspiration, both for ourselves and for others, to make wise and skillful choices that lead to our own and others' growth, genuine happiness, and their success. So if you buy into this idea, then I'd like you to reflect back to the exercise at the beginning of the video and ask again, what do others need from you to be happy? And what do you need from others in order that you can be happy? So I'd like you to pause the video again and briefly reflect on this. When others are kind to you, what happens with you? How does the kindness of others impact on your well-being? How does it impact on your ability to be at your best, especially under stressful or difficult conditions, or perhaps at times when you yourself haven't done your best for whatever reason? Use this reflection to bring to mind what you already know about the benefits of kindness to you, to your teams, to your friends, to your family, and to others around you, including people maybe with whom your relationship isn't so good. Reflect frequently on this and make notes on your insights. So there are many benefits shown by research of cultivating kindness. As an example, we know that if we can generate the mind state of kindness, it is impossible to, at the same time, possess unconstructive mind states such as hostility, anger, frustration, and other negative emotions that can cause damage in so many ways. You can therefore look at kindness as an antidote to those negative mind states. And this turns out to be very important to us both personally and professionally. We know that biologically, when we orient towards kindness, we have improved health, improved happiness, and improved well-being. Conversely, negative emotions are correlated with increased risk of a number of serious illnesses, including cardiac failure, and is also correlated with a higher death rate over time. So kindness is smart, and not only from a personal perspective, but also from a business perspective. And from a business point of view, we know that kindness reduces stress and moves people into what's known as a state of approach or a reward state. And people that are in this state are more resourceful, more creative, more collaborative, and generally happier. So kindness isn't just about being nice to people all the time. It isn't to say that we should be just smiling at everybody all the time, although that may be nice. Kindness is also important in more difficult or tough situations. Having the intention to be of benefit to someone or something in the longer term makes it much easier, perhaps, to give somebody the difficult message that may be needed for their growth. Think about difficult feedback that you may have received and how it made a difference if you knew that the intention of the feedback was genuinely in service of your growth. If it was delivered out of kindness, respect, understanding, and a desire to serve, rather than simply serving the self-interest of the feedback giver, it was probably accepted by you in a way that was much more constructive. Yes, difficult feedback can be difficult to hear and to give, but it's much easier if it is given with kindness, with the intention to be of service. Now, at the same time, of course, it's important that we are kind towards ourselves. We need to make sure that we're getting enough sleep, we're listening to our bodies, we're noticing when we're overwhelmed, and in many other ways that we are kind to ourselves. You can't help others until you've helped yourself first. And this is a very, very important and often forgotten thing about kindness. We need to look after ourselves first so that we can be of benefit to others. So everything I've said so far might be eminently sensible, especially when you're hearing it while the seas are relatively calm, when you're not being triggered perhaps by the actions of others into potentially unkind responses. But how do you bring kindness into contexts of your life when, perhaps as an example, when you don't feel others are being kind to you? How do you bring, for example, respect to those you feel are being disrespectful to you? So how do we bring more kindness and compassion to our lives and our work? Well, there are a number of ways that we can begin to do this, and I'm going to share a few of those with you now. So one thing that we can certainly do is smile more, and it can be just as easy as this. Sometimes we say that a smile is the shortest distance between people. And when we smile, biologically, stress levels reduce and we begin to see things differently. At the same time, the state of consciousness of the lucky recipient of that smile also begins to change, so that they also are less stressed and able to see things differently, be more resourceful, and perhaps be at their best. As well as this, any person who is observing this kind of interaction also has reduced stress levels and is more likely to be more resourceful as a result. Not a bad result from a simple, genuine smile. Many feel uncomfortable smiling at others. We're so conditioned to think that we need to present a tough, hard exterior all the time. But there are consequences to this and how it creates states of collective consciousness which may be unhelpful. So related to this, recent research indicates that warmth is underrated compared to competence in today's world of business. In a recent Forbes article, Zender and Folkman, who are renowned thought leaders in the area of emotional intelligence, describe some of their extensive research on this topic. They identified two different kinds of traits, a family which is known as warmth and another family which is known as competence. And warmth is the extent to which a person is friendly, exhibits positive intentions towards others, and is trusted, kind, and empathetic. And the other family of traits is competence, which relates to such things as an individual's intelligence, their ability to achieve, to drive for results, their efficiency, analytical skills, and subject matter expertise, amongst other things. They found that competence without warmth is career limiting, and that the higher the rank, the more the warmth. And so what we can infer from this is that competence as a leader brings you into the theatre of leadership. It's the entrance ticket to get into the theatre. But if you would like to be a great actor once you get in there, then you need to build warmth. So the tip is warm it up. And so another thing we can do is to create what we call a kindness compass. Work out what you would like to commit to bringing into the various important contexts of your life and your work so that those around you can be at their best moment by moment. Mentally rehearse and then write down how you would love to show up when you're anxious, frustrated, angry, when others are not doing the things that you would like. In particular, how can you bring kindness to those who you feel are not being kind to you? You can't always control how others will show up, but you can always control how you respond to how others show up. How would you feel and act if others were kind to you even though your own action may have been unkind to them. Look at your compass regularly and use it often. And as part of this, keep a journal of times when people have dealt with difficult situations with unexpected kindness. What happened? How did you feel? What did you learn? And how can you apply it? So what else can we do? Well, another thing that we can do, which is relatively straightforward, because the mind is very easy to prime. We can prime for kindness. Once you have your compass, check in with yourself regularly, say hourly, half daily, or daily. And when you check in, ask such questions of yourself like, what took me away from showing up in accordance with my kindness compass since my last check-in? What did I get from it, and what did I miss getting? What was the opportunity that I might have had to be kind, and where might that have led in that situation? And then ask, what opportunities do I have to practice kindness in the next period? Perhaps a difficult meeting's coming up or a difficult conversation. Bring to mind some of the things that might go wrong and what your response strategy would be like if you were practicing in accordance with your kindness compass. And somewhat related to some of the things I've mentioned earlier, keep a kindness journal. Keep track of how you did when you were able to practice kindness, especially when that practice was difficult for you. How did it feel? What did you get? What might be the trajectory of continuing to practice in this way? And remember to reflect back on the journal often and sit with it and see what you're learning from that. Okay, so that's another thing. And there's other things that we can do. If there's anybody out there that knows me well, you will know me as a person who uses this expression very, very often. I use it all the time with my people, with people around me, when I notice that they've been triggered. And what I like to say to them is, treat it as a practice. So when you notice that you're being triggered into unkind thoughts or behaviors, see if you can treat it as an opportunity to practice kindness. Give yourself a smile and a pat on the back for noticing. And then simply redirect your attention to your compass and the things that you can do to bring yourself and others to their best. This builds the neurological infrastructure that supports your ability to, and I quote from Robert Sapolsky, to do the difficult thing when the difficult thing is actually the right thing to do. So another very, very important area is to seek commonalities between people. The default mind tries to identify who is in your in-group and who is in the out-group. We're wired to divide others around us into thems and us's. And neurologically, the operation of what might be called the empathy network depends upon this often automatic appraisal of who is in and who is out. This in turn came from our evolutionary legacy when encounters with people who were not us were potentially genuinely life-threatening. We are wired to see thems as potentially hostile, and as a result, our ability to feel and bring kindness to them is diminished. On the other hand, we are wired also to be more empathic, compassionate, and kind to those that we regard as us. So today, such threats from others are, for the most part, absent. And yet we tend to notice difference and focus on this just as if they were genuinely threatening, thereby denying ourselves the opportunity to bring our best selves to bear. So one way to help cultivate kindness is by simply learning to see the ways in which we are similar as opposed to how we're different. Seeing if we can catch the stories of difference that we're telling ourselves that might ground unkind thoughts, feelings, and then actions. Contemplate ways in which others are just like you. In nearly all respects, we are the same, trying our best to be happy with all of the information that is available to us in a moment, including our own ways of reacting to situations that take us off track. Practice with this contemplation. Just like me, she's trying to be happy. So last but not least, rewire your brain with mindfulness practice. Practicing mindfulness is the most effective way to notice moment by moment how your current flow of thoughts and feelings might be hooking you into actions which may be off target. It allows you the space to notice that thoughts are not facts and emotions are not you. Download the free app from Potential Project, sign up and work through some of the practices. It will enable you to know what's going on in your mind know what's going on in your emotional field moment by moment, and at the same time bring back to mind that which is actually you at your best. What needs to happen so that you can bring your best into a particular moment. And mindfulness will then help you to be able to adjust your attention and your behavior in line with your true aspirations and goals.
So I've just set out here just a brief summary of the various tips that I've given you in this short video, in case you would like to have a list. And really all these things are biological. They are shown to help to bring you to your best. They are shown to help to bring others to their best. And you perhaps can sum them all up in tip number 9. If you want to feel good, do good. And this isn't some new age hocus pocus. This is biologically shown to be the case. This is an evidence-based statement. If you want to feel good, do good. But of course, knowing that doing good always starts in the mind, hence some of the practices, including mindfulness, that we set out today.
So there you are. There's a few tips. So that brings me to the end of my talk. And I'm hoping that you have taken something away in terms of the importance of and the practice of kindness. Here's to being kind together. Thank you.